Alrighty, can you hear me good? Okay, you got me? You got some volume there? Okay. So again, I'm John McLean. I primarily am writing nonfiction books. I've just finished my 8th book, 2 in the last 4 months while I was in Las Vegas. And I do a lot of traveling. It's kind of just how I live my life, traveling pretty much full time. And I stumbled upon this new program, and I was going to be in town in Austin for a few days, like you said, on the way to Finland and then down into the Baltic nations. And eventually I'll probably end up in Croatia. Or Istanbul, someplace. I don't know, someplace. It's so cheap to go over there. I can also, if you're interested, talk a little bit about the life of the digital nomad and traveling. But I mostly wanted to share this new program with you guys because it's new and it's exciting and it's not being taken advantage of. So, is anybody in merch? Is anybody already doing it here? No? Good. That's awesome. But it's not awesome that you're not doing it, but at least you won't already know what to do. You signed up? Great. Awesome. You won't for a while. So merch, just to kind of start the beginning, is a new program, and it has to do with like bands who've got merch. You know, they're selling merchandise, and they originally conceived it as something that as an in-app place to sell T-shirts and things like that, specifically T-shirts for game developers and app developers. Like, okay, we've got this little chipmunk represents our app, and so in the middle of it, you know, you can stop and go, hey, go here to Amazon and buy a T-shirt with our little chipmunk on it. And as it turns out, like many things Amazon does, it's grown and blown up in ways they didn't anticipate, nor really could they anticipate. So almost zero app developers or game people are using it. They weren't interested in it in the least bit. But a lot of just FBA people, if you're familiar with Fulfillment by Amazon, these are people that are selling things already on Amazon that are drop shipping, and that's their life. And what's amazing about this, these are usually very ordinary people who just find something to sell, they get Amazon to fulfill it, and they sell it, and they often do very, very well for themselves. It's like a second income and making, you know, $500 to $5,000 or more a month. And so that's kind of the world that discovered this merch program. It's about almost exactly a year old. They just had their birthday just a few days ago. And I was telling, I think, Matt, it's really like the Kindle was in 2011. Like, it wasn't brand new, but nobody was really, I mean, that was the year Amanda Hawking found her way onto the Kindle. That was the year John Locke, writing mysteries, became the first $1 million guy. And then 2012, it's what we call the golden age of Amazon, you know, with the Kindle, I should say. And that's when, like, I got on there, and many people did, and you just would publish a book, and you'd sell 20,000 copies just because it was there, you know, and if it was even reasonably good. And now the world has changed a little bit. Merch is basically like that right now. So what it is, it's like CreateSpace for T-shirts. So it's a complete print-on-demand service that Amazon offers. You only can get on there by invitation only. And the invitation is you find Merch by Amazon and you go, please invite me, and you send a thing. And it can take anywhere. There are people who can get their invitation within a week. Others, it can take up to 6 months to 8 months. For a long time, through most of the early part of this year, there was complete freeze on it. They weren't admitting anybody because it got bigger than they expected, and people were doing well, and all these FBA people were coming on, and these Fulfillment by Amazon, and they were figuring out how to game the system like people do, and so they were selling a lot of shirts, and they just couldn't keep up with it. You know, these big print-on-demand things for T-shirts, they cost about $350,000 each to buy, and they just couldn't order them. I mean, the company that makes them couldn't build them fast enough to basically, which is why there was that lag time, and there still is a bit of a lag time. So before I do anything, I mean, I would go home. So just to back up, so I was in Vegas for a while, and last time I was here, and I talked about digital nomads, and I talked about what's called the strength of weak ties. And if anybody's familiar with the concept, the strength of weak ties, it's a concept that, you know, for the most, a lot of us are well connected to one another. And if you're well connected, like if you have a boyfriend or a girlfriend or something, you know, if you're not going to necessarily get a lot of new information for them. If they knew something completely new and different, they'd already have told you a long time ago, right? Whereas you're going to get, you know, that's a strong tie that you have with somebody. Whereas if you go into a situation, which is one reason why I travel a lot, and you meet somebody that you don't know, they have much more likelihood of going, oh, did you know about this thing? That you're like, no, I didn't know about it. Nobody in my circle ever mentioned that. So, I mean, nobody here, so I was in Vegas one night, and I was at this club, and it's the Carnival right on the Strip, and there was a bunch of people, and I walked up kind of right in the middle of them, and this woman, just like a housewife-looking woman, just started talking to me, and it was a very ordinary group of people looking, and she had thought that I was part of their group. But she's the one that told me about Merch by Amazon. I'm like, nobody I know in the world knows about this thing. But, you know, this weak tie that a woman I didn't know or ever see again told me about it, and so now I've come from there to share it with you on my way to somewhere else. So, because we have a little bit of weak tie because I'm not living here anymore. So it's like print on demand from Amazon. So, of course, it's Amazon, which means it has, if they're a Prime member, they get Prime shipping, free shipping of these T-shirts. It's the most trusted name, and Amazon to this day has the lowest shopping cart abandon of any website on the internet, period, bar none, and just complete trust. And they have about 180 million credit card numbers on file. They just click one buy. So if they're on Amazon, it's easy just to go in there. And so what you do is when you sign up and you get your invitation, say, okay, you're good to go, you start with 25 slots. You can have 25 different shirts. And you do the design for them yourself, or you can put it out on Fiverr or Upwork or whatever, VA that you have, virtual assistant kind of thing that you want to do. I decided that I was just going to, I can't really draw, but I was like, oh, I can draw stick figures. And so I started drawing some stick figure things. And, because I'd been putting them in my nonfiction books, some little stick figure pictures. And they're really cute and charming. I mean, they look like a very slow third grader did them. But, people don't. It communicates what I'm trying to get across. And I put them on there, and I was like, and I kind of grouped them by themes and like that, and started selling just a few. So you start with 25, and then you have to sell 25 shirts, and then to tier up. So they have various tiers, and you don't get unlimited slots. Like with Kindle or CreateSpace, you can put as many books as you can write on there. Of course, 25 is quite generous. Most people here don't have necessarily 25 books already out. But you get 25s to start with. Then after you sell 25, then you tier up to 100. And then you have to sell a total of 100, including the 25 you already sold. And then you tier up to 500, and then 1,000, and then it's by invitation only after that. So Amazon can invite you to do 3,000 more. And there are people, if you can get past that hump and you can tier up, there's really good money in it. And I'm going to kind of circle around this whole thing and keep coming back and talking about the author part of it and the marketing part. But there are many people out there who are they're just putting what they're often doing is being real, and like a book, you go, okay, I'm going to write a book about this political cycle that's going on. Well, you better have already had that out there. It's almost over. And then it's going once Wednesday comes, nobody's going to want to read it again. Whereas you could have right now an idea for, I got an idea for a political T-shirt. Then you can go conceive it, Photoshop it, or Fiverr it out, put it up on Amazon Merch by Amazon, have it for sale tonight. And then with keywords, if people find it, Yeah, and exactly, and it's good. Of course, as soon as literally you see these debates, as soon as there's one tag like "nasty woman," from the last debate or one of the debates, literally within 2 hours, all the Merch by Amazon people, there were dozens and dozens of shirts that said that, but they all cleaned up. All of them made a lot of money. Just selling those things. So that's one way to do it, is you can sit on it. That's a completely separate path from what I'm talking about. That's just going, okay, I'm going to do basically e-commerce, and I'm going to use this site. And and it is a way to do it. I was like, no, I'm an artist, and I want to kind of do fun, cool stuff. If it doesn't sell as much to start with, I'm not that concerned, because I do see the potential for the revenue stream, and I do want that, but that's not my overwhelm. I'm not going to sit there on Twitter trends, which is what people do, and they literally watch things rise by there. Okay, look, that's coming up. I gotta do a T-shirt about that thing. So you get 25 slots, you sell those 25, then you get to add up onto there. And to be honest with you, just so going in, that first 25 is really, really, really hard. Because nobody knows you. You only have a few, in the world of T-shirts, that's just a small number. 25 books would be a very large number. Go ahead. Well, it's like most things on Amazon. There's no really driving anybody there. If you pick a good idea, I probably made 50 shirts, and I keep replacing them because I'm like, oh, here's a new idea, but I only have 25 slots, so I keep, even before the others sell, I keep making them and putting them up there. But I did a couple of political ones, and people are finding one of the political ones. It was like a heart, and it said, the Hillary slogan, "Love Trump's hate," but it was kind of all tipping over, and there was these little cartoons, and some were pulling a rope, and others on the other side, and the caption was like, "We're still working on it," like the thing's about to fall over. And that one's just people find that and they're buying it. That's become my main seller on there. But that wasn't, I just had the idea. I thought it'd be clever to have little people pushing it and saying, hey, we're still working on this thing, trying to get it's not just automatic. What's that? You can do anything you want for your 25 slots. Well, it's a T-shirt, so they get to pick male, female, youth size, and you can select that. So you have an infinite amount you can select. I just want men's T-shirts, just want women's T-shirts, just want youth. Some things I have most of mine right now. I have a new book that I just came out about addictions, and almost all my shirts are about addictions. So I didn't select youth. It's not, some of them are really kind of hard hitting. They're not they're kind of hard hitting things with drug syringes and stuff, but they're little anthropomorphic. They have arms and legs and they talk and they do stuff, not really youth stuff though. and you can select that, and you also get to select your colors. You have about 12 colors to range in. And this, keep this in mind when you do it, because a lot of this knowledge is kind of like, I watched hundreds of hours of videos of the people who are already doing it to learn it. But Amazon organizes them according to the most popular colors. So it's black, navy blue, and then whatever that goes from there. And they want you can pick up to 5. They recommend picking about 3. It's always best to do what Amazon's, I think, to start with the way Amazon's suggesting. So pick the first 3 colors. Like I would go, oh, I like that little light blue, but it turns out maybe that's only available in like women's medium and not in any men's sizes at all or whatever. They know what they're doing. So if you just pick the first couple of colors and don't get fancy. People just like black, they like navy blue, they like brown. They tend to like, that's what people buy. They buy shirts. And once you start going down this road and playing with it, and you walk around, like when I was just in Vegas, I mean, there's on average about 1 million people there at a time, tourists, but of which about 1 million of them are wearing T-shirts that have something printed on them. Why not something that's more related to you? So the general business model is you put the T-shirts up there, people find them. I've listened to a lot of things. Nobody's really found a way to like drive people to it yet. Nobody's gone, it's not the kind of thing like with an author mailing, a book's a bigger deal than a T-shirt. No one goes, I've got a mailing list and I let people know when I have a new shirt up. Nobody would sign up for that mailing list particularly, unless you were, some already famous as an artist or some kind of thing. So, but if you just do it and you get you have your keywords and you're creating something that's interesting to the reader, to a customer that might look for it, then they'll find it, or they'll find it in any case, because it just, it's in Amazon's, it gets inside their algorithm and it just kind of percolates up in their T-shirt store, in their merch store. So that's kind of the starting point. So that makes sense? Okay. And so again, you tier up for 25 and then you get to 100 and so on like that. And that's when the money starts coming in. There's people who have, they're at the $1,000 or even $2,000 level and they're making easily 15, 20, 30,000 a month just selling T-shirts because the profit's really nice. I mean, the thing about a book, we're all writers here, but honestly, nobody needs another book. If they don't, if we didn't ever finish our new big sci-fi novel, we would care. People wouldn't miss it. They'd read something else. And so they can buy a book or they can't buy a book. And for the most part in the Kindle world, $2.99 to about $4.99 is kind of the price point, for an indie, or even for really anybody. You don't want to go too much higher than that or even lower than that. But with, and so that's the profit in there for you and for us is going to be, anywhere from 70 cents up to $1, $2 maybe. The T-shirts, everybody needs a T-shirt. They don't need a book, but they need T-shirts, and they need apparently an inexhaustible supply of them. The more, the better, and they'll pay $19.99. There's a lot of different. There's been a lot of conversation there's all kinds of Facebook groups that you can join for merch if, in the beginning to kind of, join. Just type in merch on a Facebook thing and you'll find a dozen communities. And I've been part of those. And gradually I left them all because I'm like, okay, there's nothing, they all said what they needed to say. But there's no value in pricing them low. So about $19.99, which is about almost an $8 profit per shirt. So that's a lot higher than we're going to get on any book, and you have 25 chances of things to sell. Again, more than most of us have books out there, and an infinite number of people that can buy them. So it's really a good combination. And now what I've done, and there are many ways to do this, but again, I had in mind I was going to maybe do another book on addiction, not another book, a book that happened to be about addictions. And so I started kind of conceiving and drawing shirts that were in that vein. And then as I was drawing them, I was like, I could collect all these together and just put them in that book, And so I did. So I designed like 25 shirts in the kind of addiction category and then put them in a book, a total of like 90 pages, 90 drawings, things like that. And so I've just put that out and that's for sell. And then of course, along the way, it's like, oh, by the way, you can buy these as T-shirts. So I just published this like 2 days ago. But now everybody that reads it, they get driven to the page where they can go buy the T-shirts and go, if you thought that was funny. They're kind of like New Yorker cartoons, again, by a slow third grader, little stick figure-y drawings. So it kind of cycles back onto itself as well. And the other interesting thing is I noticed, before all this, I've finished my 8th book now. And so if you type my name in, maybe there's, I happen to have, my name is John McLean, and I happen to have, that was the name of, it's several kind of famous people, some musicians and some others, and of course, John McClane from the Bruce Willis movies, are all kind of, sort of take that name, but mostly there was a Supreme Court Justice of the United States during the Civil War, so a very important time in American history was John McClane. He wasn't the Chief Justice, but that was the Supreme Court during that era, and so that guy's always going to outrank me on Google and always going to outrank me on Amazon, or at least before, because there's all kinds of books about him and studies of him, and he wrote books himself. But now I have 25 other chances to rank in Amazon if anybody types my name in there looking for me. So now it pulls up my shirts as well as my books. So instead of just having my 8 slots for my books, I have 25 additional slots that can come up. And so it's really increased my exposure on Amazon, and it's starting to drive up my book sales. So that's where I'm, kind of talking about the whole marketing end of it. Huh? Well, I'm talking specifically about Amazon searching now. So if I type my name, John McLean, into Amazon search bar, yeah, it pulls up my shirts and my books as well. So it gives you a lot of opportunity. So it doesn't just pop. So anybody goes, oh, I heard of this guy, I want to look at one of his books, but it's going to pop up like, what's this? Oh, he's got shirts too. And so what I did was you can name your brand. In fact, you can name it anything you want. So part of the naming category of the shirts is what's the brand name that you're selling them under, and then what's the name of this particular T-shirt, and then all your descriptions and your keywords and so on, which you want to, if you have something that's like, Penn State football, you'd want to have that, Penn State football T-shirt. The brand Penn State. You had a question?
Yeah, I'm concerned about, since they're part of your book, your shirts. Are you having to have any kind of trademark?
No, you cannot. I mean, Amazon polices this very carefully. You may not violate anybody's trademark. In fact, you could not put a Penn State T-shirt up there, or use the word Penn State. They.
If somebody saw your design and said, "Hey, I'm going to use his stick figure design."
Oh, it does. There are people who make a whole living out of copying that, and there's a whole Amazon team that makes a living out of trying to find them and eliminate them. And then,
Do you have your stuff trademarked or not?
no, I mean, because each of the trademarks would have to be a separate thing, and it would cost money, and I have to. So no, I don't.
600 each.
Yeah, each times 25, and then once I tier up to 100, and so on and so forth. So yeah, my stuff is so unique and unusual looking. For the most part, I don't think most people would even think of copying it because there's stick figure-y kind of colorful things. They'd be hard to duplicate, other than just make a copy of it and paste it on a shirt, which they could do. I mean, there are people who literally do pixel by pixel copies and try to rip off the shirts, but there are also people who do that at books. They literally take a book and they'll recover it, or sometimes even I've heard of indie authors like they'll use the same cover and just put their name on there through Photoshop and try to sell it. So, yeah, so there's certainly that potential. So, but you cannot have any kind of profanity, any kind of. I mean, it's as you would imagine on Amazon. So no trademark violations whatsoever, no product names. You can't mention Apple computer, anything like that. So that's trademarked on there. So I'm using it, it was sort of like its own little world of addiction and things like that I was putting in there. And then I just happened to make this book. And so now that, it's kind of becoming self-referential that I'm driving people back through there. But you can do it for anything. And you can do it for any of many authors, especially in certain categories, romance being a very large one, have street teams. You could go, you're selling these on for the public on there, or you can sell it privately as well. You can just have a little link and you can send them a link and they can just buy the shirt. So what you could do is you could design say you've got a new book coming out, or just if you have a brand, if you're romance, or if you have a team, if you have a bunch of beta readers, you can make a street team shirts, and you can just say, here's the link, I'm going to sell it to you at cost, which is about $10.99 for these shirts, full color, whatever size, $10.99. And then you can just send them the link. The public can't find that shirt or buy it, and they can just buy it, and there won't be any money in it for it, but it'll just be immense publicity. And you can change that. You can, every book that you have, you've got to either you design to cover yourself, or you commission someone to have a cover. You can just put that on the shirts. I would just put like every cover of every one of my books on one of the shirts, so that fans of the book, and then title it the same thing as your book. So when they find your book, the T-shirt, I like that. I'll get the T-shirt. People wear Harry Potter. People like to wear T-shirts. And they like shit on it. They don't usually like in blank, for the most part. They want to have some kind of thing that makes their heart warm and fuzzy about. So when they do it, and the other thing is that nobody's doing this at all. There are no writers whatsoever that I'm aware of that are participating in merch program at all. They're using the potential of this to market their work or to get their things out. And if you have an ongoing series, many of you have characters, and if you don't already have, sketches of your heroine or things like that, you get some. There's plenty of artists that'll work for cheap on Fiverr and Upwork and many, many other sites, and commission them and then put them on these shirts, and then just continue to promote your brand through this merch program. So I think it's a really good idea. Any questions so far? Or? Yeah, go ahead.
I write romance.
Yeah.
And a lot of the covers now are just kind of the shadowy bare chest.
Yeah, that's very common. Yeah.
Yes, and those are stock photos. Can you put a cover that's made with stock photo?
Well, as long as you have the rights to use that stock photo. So, Yeah, I mean, they're not policing the images. They're more policing the words. So Amazon, for the most part, it's very similar to the Kindle in that it's an automatic detection system. Whereas with CreateSpace, there's actually a person actually looks at your book, your cover of your book, to make sure that it's all right. A human being on CreateSpace, but on Kindle they don't. Just an algorithm looks at it, and they're much, for the most part, they're using that. But if they find anything, and it's going to usually be words like, I know you can't use any names of anything, so I took them down because I'm going to come back later. But created a whole bunch of kind of going to Mars cartoons. And one of the ones was like it was like a contest between Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, with Blue Origin, trying to get them, and it was like the last one to Mars is a rotten egg, and they're on Mars and they're fighting like, I was there first, no, I was. And I said, Bezos and Musk, but it was in the picture itself. I didn't put the words anywhere in the text like Amazon or SpaceX or anything like that. It was just in the picture, and so their algorithm didn't detect it that I'd used their names in it because it was in an actual, just a little drawing with a Sharpie. So you can use the stock photo if you have rights to it, or if it's in the public domain already, or
Do you have to have special rights to include?
Well, they're not going to ask you for I don't think you'd have a problem. They're not going to. Yeah. What's that?
Some of them have a limit, like if you buy the less expensive license, it's going to allow you to sell up to 250,000
Right.
versions of whatever you make.
Yeah.
And then so if your t-shirt sold 250,000, you'd have to run over and increase your license.
Yeah, but I think you'd have the money to do that then. If you're making $8 profit per shirt, then you're going to have that's $1 million or something.
Special criteria that you use to get your privilege to do this? Or?
Now that is one thing. There is a cheat. There's a code you can do. So just kind of before you sign up, if you go home and sign up tonight, which I would encourage everybody to do, just type into YouTube or just generally, a special code for getting merch invitation or something like that. And there's a guy named Chris Green. You can write this name down if you're taking notes. Chris Green. He's the guy. He was a very popular FBA guy, fulfillment by Amazon, and he's the guy that he discovered merch by Amazon. I think Amazon told him about it because he was such a good guy. He makes so much money for them. Amazon has to take certain people under their wing. Like many of you know Michael Bunker. Amazon's taken Michael Bunker under their wing, and they give him special opportunities and single him out for promotions and things like that, just because he's who he is. And they did that with Chris Green, and they told him about this merch program about a year ago when it came out. And he knows that there's a thing you do. There's a little trick you can do that apparently will dramatically increase. Like I did it, and I said I'm already selling a lot of books. I have I'm an Amazon author, and so I got mine in about 6 weeks, which is in the scheme of things quite quickly. And I totally forgotten about it. I applied for it and I just forgot. And then one day I got an email that said, "You've been approved." I'm like, "Oh right, T-shirts! I got to start making some T-shirts." And but he has some kind of little code, or it's a little trick that you can use. And I've heard people in some of these merch forums go, "Hey, I got mine in a week after I did that." So do explore that. There is. I don't know what it is because I'd already got on there by the time I learned that there was one. Yeah.
Is there a way to search, like, to see what's selling and what's really hot in t-shirts?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and this is a kind of little trick is, you just type in on Amazon in any category, you say type in best-selling headphones, best-selling whatever, best-selling T-shirts, and the merch ones, the ones we're talking about, so the T-shirts laid out, and they have a little white strip. Like where the, whatever you call that thing is, the little tag on the back of the shirt. It's a long white, looks like a little, what's it called, the uvula in the back of your throat, but it's like, it's like this, it's white. They all have that distinctive feature. Like regular T-shirts that people are selling that are not part of merch don't have that. So you'll know, the best-selling T-shirts of all, but also specifically the best-selling merch T-shirt. So look for that white strip in the back, on the back collar of the T-shirt, and then you can see it because the merch shirts don't earn on models. Most of the people that are doing their own T-shirts have been doing them, put them on models. And that's how they promote. The merch T-shirts are just by themselves, just kind of flat, laying there. But they have that white strip, and that's the way you can tell the top merch shirts on there. Go ahead.
There's another app if you're that interested in like how something is selling. It's called Jungle Scout, and it's like this other company.
Okay.
And they built this piece of software that looks like basically scrapes the data from Amazon. And you can tell.
Oh, nice.
Sometimes you can tell how much a product is actually selling.
Right. Yeah, and so I didn't have enough space because, again, I have this new book out on addiction, so I wanted to use up my T-shirt slots for that. But I guarantee you, for next year, when it comes time, the leading up to Nano, guess who's doing T-shirts about Nano? Nobody. There was I looked before, there was 3 on all of Amazon. And I was like, I could do 25 nano shirts, just cool looking shirts. Like, I did nano 2016 or 17, and many of you are doing nano. And who wouldn't, if you win nano, you wouldn't want you'd want a T-shirt that says, especially a colorful thing that says I won nano. And there was just there was literally like one or two things. That was it. So it was a completely untapped market. And by next year, hopefully I'll be up to I don't know what number, but I'd like to be up to like 500. And it's, it's kind of, it's, what's classically known as a side hustle. I am a writer and I write with words, and like many of you do. But the artistic part is just the same creative impulse. So many of you know Robert Rodriguez or know of him. The filmmaker lives here in Spy Kids and Sin City and so on. And he famously does about 40 different jobs on his movies, not because he needs to or can't afford it, because he likes to do it. So he writes the movie and he directs the movie, and he often is the camera operator, which in Hollywood term, the director is not allowed to even touch the camera. The director's not even allowed to look through the camera. That's against the union rules. So, but he actually got certified, and so he shoots his own movies, he edits them, he writes the music for them, and he says, it's like, people are like, how can you do all these jobs? He's like, it's all the same creative impulse. It's 5% technical thing. To learn how to edit or to learn the music stuff. You do have to do that 5%, but it's 95% creativity. And so the drawing pictures like I've been doing, it's the same creative thing. And what's fulfilling about it, especially is write nonfiction, and even though short is the new black these days, and nonfiction books are considerably shorter than they used to be, and people really like books about in the 80, 90 page range, in the 15 to 18,000 word mark is like a really good length for it. Even that, it maybe takes a month but I can have an idea, like I talk about that love Trump hate chart. I mean, I had the idea, I drew the little picture, put it on a T-shirt. So an hour later, it was for sale on Amazon. And I was done with it, and I moved on to the next thing. And now that's selling. And so it's like, it's creative, but it's like real instant gratification for it. Go ahead.
The other question I was going to ask about when they put so when you take do you just send your picture to Amazon, and then do they?
It's exactly. Have you ever done any? Have you ever done? So, do you have anything published on Amazon now? Okay, so it's exactly the same way. Like it's not exactly like when you did. Have you ever? Is it on CreateSpace as well?
Yeah.
Okay, so when you do on Kindle, you just upload the picture of the cover and they take care of the rest. But if you've ever been on CreateSpace, they have like the actual mock-up of what it looks like, and you have to kind of position it on there. You have to put the picture on there. Yeah, exactly. So they have a shirt and they have a target, and they tell you exactly how big it needs to be. Yeah, it's 5,400 pixels by 4,500 pixels. You don't need to remember that or write it down.
When it shows up, like say if someone's searching for your T-shirt, it'll look like it's on a.
Exactly. It's yeah, and if they change colors, it looks exactly like it's on that color. So yeah, you make all of your shirts at 300 DPI at 5,400 high. It's a little bit higher than it is wide. 4,500 pixels wide, and you do it and you save it as a PNG file. PNG allows it to have a transparent background, whereas the JPEG and others in TIFFs, if you're familiar with visual images, PNG can have a transparent background. So like you have the bit that you want to show on there, and the rest lets the T-shirt show through. So that's what it means by a transparent background. So, and that's a PNG file. But you just position it on there, and they take care of the rest. But you have to hit the parameters of like that exact dimensions, that exact file size. It can't be over 20 megs in size, which if it's PNG, it wouldn't usually be. That's a very tight, efficient way to do shirts. That's why they wanted the PNG. And then they just take it from there, and they can put on any color shirt, any size. They resize it, whether it's a man's shirt, woman's shirt, youth shirts. I mean, and it's Amazon, and you get free, if they are Prime member, they get free Prime shipping. By the way, that's another caveat, and I'll just tell you now, you can remember it, and you'll learn it from the forums. May not in any way, I don't know why, but you may in any way refer to Amazon merch or the printing process. So the Amazon shirts are printed in America. There's free shipping if you're an Amazon Prime. You're not allowed to say that in your description. You're not allowed to tout Amazon itself and to go, hey, we make these shirts in America. These are high. You can't even mention Amazon or anything about the whole merch program or process. And they're just one of their little, for whatever reason, so they have the option they can do it in some other country if they want. So I'm sorry, you had a question?
You may have covered this, and I apologize.
Sure, no.
But at what point do you pay the cost?
You don't ever pay the cost. There's no cost at all. So it's free. It's exactly like with CreateSpace, whereas so the there's a $10.99 bottom price or minimum price, and that's you get no profit or 1 penny. But that covers the cost of them to print the shirt, buy the shirt, fulfill the thing, free ship it to them. So basically the rest that's over that price, and it could be $7 or $8 for a $19 shirt. So it's very generous. It's in some ways even more generous. You certainly don't get that kind of profit margin like on CreateSpace, if the book's minimum price is $4.99 and you price it $9.99, that's not all profit for you. It's about, they take more than half of that, even of that. Whereas with T-shirts, that's almost all profit once you get past the cost, because they're good with the cost.
When you say 25 need to be sold, is that just 25 shirts of any design?
Of any kind total, yes. So, and it could be the same shirt 25 times. And there are certain people, because it's really hard, because you don't have a lot of chances. It's like having one book on Amazon. Most people that have one book on Amazon aren't going to sell a lot. You get 2, 3, 5 books on Amazon, start selling a little more, 8, 10, 12, you see if you sell even better. You know how it works. The backlist is where the money is in writing, and the same with T-shirts. So really, when you get to 2, 3, 4, 500, that's where the people really start finding you. And if you have cool designs, or you're doing cool stuff, or they're interested in your property or your series, they find one of your shirts, they're like, oh, then they find the others as well. So a lot of interest. So there's some people that actually just will pay. If you put it at the low end at 10.90, 10 something for $250, you can buy your way up to out of the first tier. And there are people who do that, because it really can be quite difficult to get out of that first 25. It's easier to get it out of the next 100, and then after that it just sort of flows automatically once you get 100 plus. Go ahead. Yeah.
Are you allowed to link to it from your Facebook?
Anywhere, yeah, absolutely. All the marketing you do, Amazon wants. That's why they want you. That's why they want all these people. You can put it anywhere you want. Your link, and it's difficult because it's not like with the Amazon author page. If they find one of your books and they click on your name, they go to the Amazon author page and they can see, oh, here's all of your books. The T-shirts don't have an author page. In fact, and I'll come back to this in a second, most of them don't brand themselves at all. And so there's not one way. So like, I just kind of go, oh, here's, if I type in, what I do is I type in my name in the search bar. I put John McClean and then shirts or T-shirts. And by the way, those are kind of synonymous for Amazon or on Amazon. So whether you use, like all of my shirts say the word shirt in the title because I want them to find it. I say the title of it and then shirt, but you don't have to put T-shirts. So shirts and T-shirts on Amazon are synonymous as search words. And so if they do that, then a page of my shirts comes up. Not all the 25, but a good page. So I just cut and pasted that link, and on my website, I just kind of put that on there. So I did a screenshot of that on so my website's got my books on it they can find. But in the middle it says, I call it wearable art. And I was like, oh, wearable art, here's Amazon's, T-shirt stuff. I make T-shirts too. And then they can click on that and they'll go to but it'll just go to like a generic page that says, that has my shirts on. I can't send them to an author page because there isn't one. So, and just, hold on a thought for 1 second. Just while I'm thinking of it. So the way most people do it is there is a lot of fear on there by people who are doing this of other people ripping them off. And so, which is legitimate, because most people, 99.9% of people just have text on there. They just say, Trump 2016 or we're deplorables or whatever they might say, just a word. They literally go into Microsoft Word, design it, and put it on there. They don't make any effort whatsoever. But they have, if they start selling, then they've got something going on. And so what they're typically doing is they'll call it political tees or funny tees or something, and then they have a bunch of different brands because they're worried, because if you're not doing anything at all creative or interesting, anybody can rip you off. If you say deplorables, anybody can. That's not trademarked. You can make your own deplorables, T-shirts. And so they want to make sure nobody find them, so they bounce between a dozen different brands on here. I put John McClean and all, and this is kind of the lucky thing, because I wanted to promote myself and my work and my books on there. And so that's why one day when I typed in my name on Amazon, I was like, shit, I got all these other things on here that I didn't even know, that were going to come up. Hadn't even really occurred to me besides my book. So it was a lot more opportunities to, for people to find me. So I think you had a question, or somebody had a question? Oh, you did. Okay. You can do it on the front and the back. Of course, the cost of printing goes up if you put them on the back. I'd say that the vast majority of people who are doing this and doing it successfully just do it on the front. They say there's no advantage to also doing it on the back as well. It does add considerably to the cost. So instead of $10 something as a minimum cost, it's more like 14 or 15, and it just lowers your amount of profit on there. And it's, again, it's quite a generous profit. If you're selling a $19 T-shirt and you're making $8 on every single shirt, that's a nice chunk of. Most of us aren't making that kind on a single sale of a book at all, period. So, and and what I've done, I didn't do that in all of them, but on a few of them, I've started putting on my website on the bottom of it, just kind of really small on there. So again, just another cross-promotional thing. So you're selling shirts about anything. It could be about your books, about your author brand, or about really anything that you want. It can be any possible thing for your local church or anything like that. In fact, that's an idea because you now have a place where you can do print on demand. A good way to tier up, I think, is if you have a church or if you have a business or an organization, or your dad has an insurance company. He was like, hey, Dad, I can make you so and so insurance company, and we can get him for all the employees, and I'll sell them to you at cost. Well, they can go in there and you'll sell your 25 right there, and then you'll tier up to 100. Then the fun really starts happening, and you can really take advantage. So there's ways to game the system. Kind of be creative about it, and try to maybe think of something like that. Think of an opportunity like, oh, who would, and I've watched videos of people done that. They got their father-in-law, their business to order a bunch of shirts. So that special link I told you about, because nobody particularly would, is going to go looking for, local insurance T-shirts, or they might. So, any other questions on this?
So the tier up.
Go ahead, yeah.
How does that benefit you except that you get the print?
Well, because it's like with anything, it's having 25 is literally like having one book on Amazon, and it's possible you wrote exactly the right book and it was at the right time and people found it and sell it. But these days, it's much more likely you can make a good living if you have 3 books or 5 books or 12 books. And so having 25 shots at a T-shirt, and the T-shirt market can be, it takes a bit of an effort to write a book still, unless you're, Nora Roberts or Russell Blake or somebody, you knock it out in a week or so, or Dean Wesley Smith. But for the rest of us, it takes a month or 2 or a year, or however long it takes. Whereas a T-shirt, you can make 25 in a few days or a week at the most, even if you put a lot of effort, and made them really nice. But it gives you, so there's a lot, so quickly people have come out of the gate, and even though it's only a year old, there's probably 300,000 shirts for sale on Amazon. So, because there's considerably more books than that now. But so it is crowded, but if you're doing good work, people will find you. And so it's about having more opportunities. And the people that are making good money aren't making good money at 25 or 100 or even, they're 500 to 1,000 to even, again, past 1,000 it's invitation only. They have to like your stuff. They don't, so even if you're sold 1,000 T-shirts, they can go, you're not doing anything special, and they don't have to invite you to tier up. But there are people that they like their work, they invite them, they tier up to 5,000, even 10,000 shirts. And a lot of them just they're doing it again as a business. So they're not, I'm talking about using this as an artist, as a marketing thing for all your books to promote and cross-promote everything you're doing, and and just make all these things self-referential so that you're having an opportunity in the marketplace that most indie writers, nor for that matter, or any professional writers doing. If there no Stephen Kings of the world are doing this either. No, why would he? So, yeah. More money, but he does. It wouldn't be in his. He wouldn't get the money anyway because the publishing houses own the rights. So if they were doing it, but they're not doing it. Because of course it's, it's something new and interesting, huh?
Clowns are in, right?
Clowns are in, right? Yeah. He tweeted, a few weeks ago. I was like, hey, we need to stop with this whole clown creeping thing. And people are like, you literally started this. What are you talking about? This was you.
I think he tweeted us. It was a picture of his house and it had a Pennywise for President sign.
Oh yeah, that was awesome. Yeah.
It's very good.
All right. So, any other questions about the merch program or anything really?
Hey, John.
Yeah.
The profit margin.
Uh-huh.
Does that change at each of those tier levels, or does it?
No, that's the same, but it's quite generous. So, but yeah, that stays the same. So, and again, and many people will come out of the gate, and I did this, sort of made this mistake of pricing them very low, like just above, the first one, I was like, well, I want to sell my first shirt. And so I priced it like literally at a penny over. And then I did finally sell my first shirt. And I was like, I made a penny. And I probably would have sold it anyway, so, but the consensus seems to be about $19.99 is a sweet spot. And you find that, just like with Amazon Kindle, is that there's a sweet spot. And for Kindle, it seems to be about $2.99 to $4.99, depending on what you're doing and the length of your books. And, going under that or going over that is not really, to your advantage. And so it seems to be on the T-shirts, $19.99. That just suggests quality. It's good. Oh, that's the other thing is they have 2 different types of shirts. They have a traditional casual fit, and that's the one I've been mostly talking about. That's about a $10 something, minimum cost, and everything above that almost is profit. But they also sell American Apparel shirts, which are a slimmer fit, it's a little bit nicer shirt, and that's with everything. It just happens automatically, or actually it doesn't happen automatically. You have to choose that when you're setting up your T-shirt. So you pick the colors, you pick whether man, woman, youth, or all 3, and then you choose the American Apparel. They're nicer, but they cost more, and so your profit margin is going to be a little bit less. And the consensus within Merch Group seems to be that's not really an advantage either. There are nicer shirts, but the printing on the other ones is really quite nice. These print-on-demand machines that they're using they're spectacular. They do a really amazing job. I'm hand drawing mine and coloring with Sharpies, and so they're unusual. They're not your usual set of colors, and they show up fantastic. So.
Have you ever done photos, like printed photos on them? How do they turn out?
Well, I do. Up until recently, that's how I was putting them on there. I would create the artwork by hand, and then I would take a picture of it on my phone. So technically, all of them are photos. Yeah. So they're not photos of stuff, but they were photos of art that I made. So, but they are actual photos, and they look great. So, go ahead.
What other types of products can you do? I mean, how does it compare to like Cafe Press?
Yeah, well, the main thing is that Amazon again has 180 million credit card users. Cafe Press, I mean, I was looked into that. I was like, I've already got the T-shirt designs. Is it worth it? And I did little bit of research, and its days seems to have come and gone. It's and you know, the fact is, you do one thing, and they put it on 500 different things. And if any of you are familiar with Malcolm Gladwell, he has a great talk about, it's the same talk where he talks about chunky spaghetti sauce. But the bottom line is that when people have too many options, they don't choose anything. And so if you have 48 types of jam, the chances of them buying any are diminished compared to if you have 4 or 5. You know, and Cafe Press and places like that literally have 150, and most people go, yeah, just put it on everything. This keychain, that door hanger, and so nobody buys anything because it's just overwhelmed. And nothing really looks good because it's all just one. You just upload the art once and it resizes it for everything, so it doesn't look good on anything, really. So, but that's the other point is that, you know, they've only been doing T-shirts for a year. Everybody knows that it's Amazon. So get in now, get your 25, tier up to 100. By this time next year, you know, the famous Q4, you know, for selling on Amazon, this is the time. If you're tiered up, they're going to have hoodies probably. They're going to have sweatpants. They're going to do other things that, you know, whatever it is, they'll figure out something that, like, this is the best thing to sell that gives everybody profit and that people really want. So I don't know what it is or can't anticipate, but all the people at the top, the Chris Green that I mentioned and others, are like, they're anticipating that there's going to be more products, and they're rolling them out at a reasonable rate, not do 150 at once, because that just overwhelms the market and overwhelms the creator, but roll out the next thing. So by this time next year, I expect there to be probably a dozen, or whatever, I don't have a number, but it's more than just T-shirts. So, yeah, go ahead.
So is there a time frame within which you have to sell the 25? Or what happens if you don't sell 25?
No, I mean, there's not, they
Take
did.
as long?
You know, it's going to take a while. It takes most of the people, you know, except again the ones that are really either got their father-in-law to buy them, or they're just sitting on Twitter trends, and that's not necessarily a bad way to start, and then you can transition to something else. I mean, the main ones that have been selling for me have been kind of political. I only made 2 political shirts, and both of those have been selling. Yeah, I had another one that was just hand drawn, but it was Donald Trump on the Titanic, and his iceberg, and he's like, back it up, let's hit it again until we get it out of the way. And then, but the Titanic had and the iceberg had an American flag on it, and so it was like, yeah, I'm gonna keep hitting that iceberg, and that sold as well. So, but that was just like a lark, you know, that wasn't part of my brand or anything else that I was particularly doing. But those are both sold because they're timely and topical. So a lot of the people reported that they got letters that said, if any shirt is unsold after 60 days, it'll be deleted. Because they wanted to clear out that it's just a lot of shirts in the marketplace. And if it's not selling, they're going to delete it. I never got that letter from merch. I don't know if I just didn't happen to get that, or if that was, you know, because my things are very unique and original. There's nothing like them on Amazon. They're like, oh, even it might take a while for this guy. So I don't know, maybe it hasn't been long enough to start having any deleted, but other people are having their shirts deleted if they don't sell. So there is a little bit of a timeline for them. But what that means, I mean, if a shirt hasn't sold in 60 days, you know, and you put 30 seconds effort into it, then you just make another one. You don't lose the slots. You can still, so they're not going to take the 25 away. And then once you tier up, you get to have that forever, you know. And if they keep policing that, but again, I didn't get that letter, so
You don't lose your membership.
you don't lose your membership. Yeah. So although like anything, you can get, you know, like Google slapped. I mean, if you steal other people's things or repeatedly violate trademark, you can get, you know, your account can get banned, but not for not selling things. Yeah, go ahead.
Is it just for the U.S. for now?
It is only, it's a good question, it's only in the United States for now. So, which means the market's just going to get better and better, you know, when it goes to, you know, T-shirts can be, you know, are universal. I mean, you can go anywhere in the world and they've got T-shirts, English doesn't matter. In fact, that's even a cachet in many countries to have a T-shirt that's in English. So, but of course it doesn't, you know, mine have designs and sometimes fewer, if no, or no words. And so it's universal, but yeah, it's only in the United States, only for delivery now. And so, but I assume that again, that once they'll start buying some more. There's one company that's making these machines. They're making them as fast as they can. It's a small company that they're buying them from, and so I guess as soon as they can make some and then ship them over to the UK or get them up to Canada, they will, and they'll keep rolling it out. So. But it's, you know, most things that Amazon touch turn to gold, and this has turned to gold for them. It's been a success for the people doing it. It's been a success for Amazon, and it's just going to seem like it's going to continue to grow. And the marketing opportunities, that's the thing I'm really interested in, is to put your characters and your book covers and your author brand and your name associated with all these things and get all that exposure out there. Even if you sell very few, it's just exposure on the Amazon platform. and it's good. And again, it's a side hustle. You can put it on your website, like, hey, go here and get some of my T-shirts, and people go, well, shit, I like the book, I'll buy a T-shirt, you know, because again, they need a T-shirt but they don't need the book, but they need the T-shirt. So
You can like model it when you do Facebook Live videos.
you can do it, yeah, exactly. You can do any way you want to promote them. Amazon's very happy. You know, that's with the whole fulfillment by Amazon thing. They're very happy if you do something that sends traffic to Amazon. They're very pleased about that. So there's they say there's no rules. There are real rules, but they're very generous about you. Whatever you need to do to link to there, to send it there. I mean, in theory, you could even become, if you're an Amazon affiliate, you could even perhaps find a way to drive affiliate traffic to your site and get an affiliate sale markup as well on the thing that you sold. So was there a question back there? Okay, so that's what I've got. That's the merch program. I would highly recommend. Yes, I'll start over at the beginning because you came late. So anyway, there's this thing.
Probably already covered this.
Yeah.
But is this a Amazon seller account or is a merch account something separate?
It's completely separate. Yeah. So you have to apply for it separately. Just to quickly recap, is you have to get an invitation for it. I think Facebook was that way in the very beginning, wasn't it? You had to be invited to join Facebook, or right around the Harvard days.
Have a college email.
Yeah, to get one. Yeah.
EDU email.
Yeah, and so you just go and you type in, merch by Amazon, and you'll find it. It'll say, and basically you fill out this little questionnaire, and it's very simple. It just says your name and your email address, and it says add anything that you want. And so you don't have to put like a big old thing. You can, and I did just a couple lines. Said I'm already an Amazon author and I'm doing well, and so I'm part of your club. So and I got in fairly quickly in the scheme of things. But I was telling them there's a code. There is a special little cheat thing you can do. Just go in and type cheat code or how to get on Amazon merch faster in YouTube or on Google, and it'll come up. This guy Chris Green, who's sort of the main guy. Just to finish that story, so this guy Chris Green is filmed by Amazon. They told him about this program. He started doing it, and then they have these e-commerce conventions for people who are doing the FBA, and it had one in Chicago. This was last summer, so summer of 2015. When it was just, right around, I guess not summer, but fall, because it's just turned a year old. And he gets up there and goes, hey, there's this new program called Merch by Amazon, and I'm making like $5,000 a month selling T-shirts. And everyone's like, what? That? And literally all the people from the convention joined, and it crashed merch. Like, the thing, and like, that's when they stopped taking out, and they were like, so everybody went and they joined it, and it was immediate, and then it just crashed, and literally they put a 6-month moratorium, because just that one speech he gave talking about merch crashed the system, and for 6 months nobody else could get it, because like about 300 people joined in one day. And these are FBA people, so they know how to hustle, and they know how to like get things out. I mean, they live in like rural Oklahoma or wherever they live. They got nothing else to do, but go online and figure out ways to sell shit, so they figure that out, man, because what are you going to do? You're in Durant, Oklahoma, you got nothing, like, oh, okay, we're going to sell some T-shirts. So, but yeah, and so you guys all join, and then we'll crash it again, and then so for the next group of writers, they're going to have to wait like a year before they get on there and do it. So, but you'll be the only writers other than me that I'm aware of that are even on this entire program, and they'll be using it. It is for an author marketing thing, and it's free. It's free marketing. Yeah, go ahead, Roy.
Pardon my ignorance, but what is FBA?
Fulfillment by Amazon. Fulfillment, and it's basically drop shipping. So my friend Jason here is kind of getting into that realm right now. But it's basically you get stuff, but you have to, fulfillment by Amazon, in the past, usually you pay or somehow get some money. Amazon can keep the inventory for you, but there is some upfront cost that can be associated with it. Whereas this, POD, print on demand, there is no upfront. It's exactly like the Kindle, exactly like CreateSpace. You don't call it, they host it for free on Kindle, they host it for free on CreateSpace, and they only take their money when someone actually buys a copy, and they send you the difference between what their costs are and what you priced it at. So it's exactly the same way. That's the best part. It's just completely free. And did you have a question?
I did.
Yeah.
So I don't have anything on Amazon. Like, I haven't written a book.
Yeah.
Could I do?
Of course, yeah, you would do it. I mean, 100% of all the rest of the people doing it are like you, and there are no authors doing it. There's nobody that's cross-promoting any brands that and I've spent a lot of time watching videos and staying up to date in these forums, and nobody's doing it other than just to sell T-shirts. So nobody's promoting anything else whatsoever on there. So, but they're the ones you can make good money on it. So if you do eventually, you at one point in time, I know you were doing some like healthy kale chips and things like that. So if you have that, you put some shit with kale on it, people buy that, They like that's a really popular thing. Whole Foods has a whole line of shirts that says like kale, and like the Yale script says kale, for that fire engine number 5 diet, that vegan diet. So, but people buy the shit out of those kale shirts. So anything, if you're a vegan or a vegetarian, if that's your thing, make some of those shirts or make some nano shirts. For next year. I mean, it's just our little club here. So.
Nano actually has a prohibition on our logo. You have to be careful, like using.
Okay, well that's good to know. Yeah.
It says actually on the site because I looked at that.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, that's good to know.
Their own I-1 shirts.
Huh? Yeah. So, but they're not.
Plays on just like I rhyme load or something.
Yeah, or I wrote a book in a month, and things like that. They can't stop you from saying that. And again, the thing I found is if you put it in a picture, no algorithm can find it. So if it's actually just drawn in there with hand-drawn thing, it doesn't exist as far as what they're, now nano people could maybe find it, but the Amazon algorithms over at Merch, I technically violated trademark by mentioning Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk on a T-shirt, but since it was hand-drawn, the thing, and I didn't mention their names in the description, didn't pick it up. And that's the other thing is you just like with books or just like with anything, especially with nonfiction books, you get your description, and you can have an unlimited, like on Kindle and on CreateSpace, you can only do 6, I think, and 5 respectively, or 5 and 6 keywords. Here you can write a description. You can put as many keywords as you want to. You can just write it into the prose description of the thing, and you just keep going with it and put in there. So it gives, if you're doing something like, okay, my character is, if your book is popular, you can put the name of the book and the character's heroine, and your name and the names of your other book. This is by the same author, did this and that. Just get your name as much time, as you can into the Amazon search engine results, just using it for that to pimp it up. And then if it does happen to be something like what you're talking about, like it isn't necessarily to promote a book or something, but let's just say you're a vegan, and you could just say, for vegans everywhere, or even people who are vegetarian, or even people who are keto, or you can mention all the different types of things because then they could all find it. So, and even the keto people eat kale. So, go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, I do.
You do? Yeah. There you go. Yeah, I do. Any other questions at all? Yeah. No, I would. But first do that little thing, which is type in, is there a code or a quicker way to get it? Because I know some people are getting it in a week. Otherwise, it could be. I think right now these days it's gotten a little better because they bought some more of the machines, but they've gotten it down to about 2 months, maybe 6 weeks. So, which of course will put you into January of next year, of this coming year. Probably before it comes. But if you find this code, you might be able to get in a little bit quicker. But if it takes that long, that's how long it takes. So, and keep in mind, up until just recently, it was, first of all, it was nothing. I mean, they weren't letting anybody in. Then it was 6 months, 7 months for a lot of people. And there's still people that are like 3-4 months. They're on the waiting list.
Still not fully grown.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so they're building they're buying the machines as fast as they can. But that's why I wanted to talk about it now, because they're just rolling it out. It's the first year, and it's just going to go bigger and bigger because it's it's Amazon, and the whole the free shipping from Prime members and everything. I mean, you just can't beat that. So and just mostly profit. Any other questions at all on this topic, or? No? We're going to hang out and socialize for a few minutes afterwards. So we're all writers here, and we're all writers, and as soon as the light turns on, we scurry like cockroaches. And I don't want to talk to anybody. Hang out and talk to me. This is your chance to talk to other writers and people who are doing the same kind of things that understand you in ways that your family never will. They don't know. They don't know the suffering in our heart when nobody likes our book. So, all right. Thank you guys so much. Thank you.